this video, we are going to create our first two non-player characters, or NPCs. This is a vital component of any good RPG, especially if it's single player. You will need your single player hero to be able to interact with other creatures in the world. So to do this, we're going to take a look at the creature wizard and how to properly design our NPCs. So let's get started. Before we do any NPC placement, we're going to want to spruce up our setting a little bit. We're going to do this by adding an additional bit of terrain. So let's go back to our terrain painter here. In the menu, let's find features. Features are basically unique single tiles. You'll see we have various features here that we can add to our scene. The one that we're interested in is called the ruined cart feature, which comes pre-painted with a piece of road and connects nicely to our road terrain if placed correctly. Let's select that and hover over somewhere in the middle of our road. The direction of the road on your ruined cart should match the general direction of your road. If it doesn't, simply right click to rotate it by 90 degrees until you're happy with the placement. Then left click to draw the feature over your road. Great, we've got our setting, it's a ruined caravan. Next, we're going to put in our two NPCs. One is pre-made and one is custom. So let's draw the pre-made NPC first to get an idea of how to do that. Let's head over to the creature palette. We have two options here, monsters and NPCs. Generally, everything that's not a standard D&D playable race is defined as a monster, even if they're not hostile. So within the monster subtype, you can go into animals other and scroll down towards ox. Once selected, left click to put him in front of your cart. Although the ox serves no function in the story itself, it would make sense that the cart is being pulled by some sort of draft animal, and it makes your scene look a little bit nicer and more realistic. Next, you want to hold down Shift and use the right mouse button. That way we can rotate the ox to put him roughly at the position in front of your cart. Next, we are going to create our quest giver, the merchant. The way I usually like to do this in terms of creating custom NPCs is to move to the custom tab in the creature palette and then right clicking on any of the subheadings and select new. Alternatively, you can also go to Wizard's Creature Wizard or press Ctrl-Alt-C as the shortcut for this. So first of all, in the Creature Wizard, we will need to select a monster type. This will have lots of impact on how our NPC will behave. As the wizard says, it defines the default abilities, class and appearance of the creature. Note, default. We will be able to customize our creature as we like, regardless of the type we select here. This will present us with some cool opportunities in the future. If, for example, the player character is a monster hunter who has a trinket that vibrates when aberrations are near, we could create a creature of the aberration type, for example, but give it the appearance and sound set of a gnome. Regardless, we're not going to do anything of that sort yet. Here we just want a plain non-demonic merchant. So let's give her the half-elf type, as half-elves in most settings seem to be the sort of charismatic vagabonds that would get themselves into this sort of mess. Then we can press next. Now we will need to determine the class and level selection. You will see the picture of our male, for now merchant, in the left pane here. He is a fighter 1 by default, but merchants strike me as more of a rogue type. So let's remove fighter 1 and put rogue 1 in instead. In the appearance and portrait menu, we can now choose female to change the model accordingly, and we want to keep the half-elf appearance. Finally, using the select portrait button at the bottom there, we can choose a portrait appearance. Half-elves get access to both the human and the elf portraits, so there's plenty to choose from. It is important to select this, however, as this is what's going to appear in our conversation with the NPC later on. In the faction screen, let's give her the merchant faction. We'll examine the default factions and how to make custom ones later on. For now, we don't need to worry about it at all. Finally, we need a name. If you're terrible at coming up with names like I am, you can simply click random until you find something that you like. The auto-generated names can be a bit lengthy, but they're generally not bad, and they fit the traditional fantasy naming conventions of the races. After we've done that, can click next. We want to put our half-elf in the half-elf NPC category and review the summary on the next page. Finally, let's launch the creature dialogue properties. There is a lot of information here, pretty much everything you need to define this NPC. We can alter stats, appearance, sound sets, add specific scripts that control the behavior of this NPC, and so on. You can always come back and review this at your own leisure. For now, we want to do 3 minor changes that make this NPC seem immersive for our quest. So first of all, let's go to the Advanced tab and take a look at the sound set. This controls what your NPC sounds like in the world. As often as not, this bugs out with custom NPC creation and a random sound set like Bugbear gets allocated. Obviously, we don't want our half-elf merchant to sound like a bugbear when she interacts with the player, so let's find something more suitable. As you select each set in the drop-down, you will be played a preview sentence or sound. I've decided to go with elf female sensible for this character, but again, you have a ton of options to choose from, so pick one you like. Secondly, let's make our character look a bit more like her portrait. The portrait that I've chosen has long red hair and fairly pale skin. Let's head over to the Appearance tab. We can cycle through the top drop down, Head, to see which one we like. So let's try and find one with fairly long hair. In the Wings menu at the bottom, let's also add a backpack with bedroll. Seems like something a travelling merchant would probably have. Finally, using the colour button, we can customise hair, skin and tattoo colours. Again, this isn't strictly necessary, but it does help with player immersion when the 3D model closely resembles the portrait. So let's give her the red hair and the pale skin of the portrait. Lastly, let's head over to the inventory. The NPC has been outfitted with default gear for a level 1 rogue. Some thieves' tools, a few potions, and leather armour and weapon. The leather armour and weapon don't really fit the purpose of our quest. After all, if the merchant's equipped and capable enough to go after the goblins herself, why would she require the player's aid? Instead, let's drag both her leather armour and her weapon to the bin icon in the bottom left corner. As a replacement, let's navigate to Armour, Clothing, and find the Squire's Tunic and equip that in her armour slot. Fantastic. Now that our NPC is a proper helpless merchant, we're ready to start building out our conversation and quest logs. But first, let's place our merchant down next to the cart, so you can drag the blueprint you've created from the palette onto the road, and then test the game. Great. We've created our first NPCs. The next few videos will cover the fundamentals of NW Script, the toolset's scripting language. If you're interested in programming concepts, you'll want to check those out. I'd encourage you to give them a try anyway, even if you don't have any prior scripting or programming experience. But if scripting is definitely not your thing, you can skip ahead to part 4, where we'll be looking at creating conversations.